What's up, y'all? It's your girl Roxie with Roxiie Says, and we're going to talk about it today. We are discussing The Ultimatum Season 3, Episodes 4 and 5. Y'all already know. So much happened in these 2 episodes, so let's get right into it. But before we do, please don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that you hit that notification bell so that you are made aware every time I post a new video, especially because the new episodes drop tomorrow. All right, so let's get right into this review. So, we see Sandy telling JR that she ran into Nick and he's still very upset. Okay, she says that Nick can't handle the emotions that he's feeling, but this is what he signed up for. She says that Nick thinks that they're only here to F around, but is he wrong? Is he wrong? She tells JR that she told him about the kiss. She says she didn't want to tell him at first, but she didn't want to lie to him when he asked her. And JR isn't too happy because he knows that this will bring a whole lot of extra drama that he doesn't really want. Sandy says that there were so many important conversations that she wanted to have with Nick, and he was always unwilling to have these conversations. Oh, but now that they're here, she says that he is harassing her. He is blowing up her phone and then hanging up. And JR feels like this isn't fair and that Nick is not allowing Sandy to have that full trial marriage experience. JR says, look, I ain't worried about what Zaina and Scotty are doing. Yeah, JR, we know, all right? So, child, it is day 3 of the trial marriages, and we see Nick looking for Vanessa. She's not there. We also see Mariah looking for Micah. He's not there. She says that all of his stuff is gone. The book that he lent her is gone, and she is confused. So apparently, Dave, Vanessa, Micah, and Chanel all secretly met up off camera, and they decided to go home. And the surveillance cameras caught footage of them packing up. Honestly, I think that it's messed up. Like, y'all could have at least said bye to your trial marriage partners. I mean, I think it's messed up to leave the experience, period, okay, because y'all really messed up everyone else's experience, but you could have at least said bye. And I wonder how that works, like contractually. Do they get fined, or do they just forfeit the little coins that they would have gotten from the show? I don't know. Now, I've been saying that I wanted Micah and Chanel to end up together, but I didn't think that they would have done it like this. Maybe they felt that it was just a waste of their time and they knew that they wanted to be together at the end of the day. But in the case of Vanessa and Dave, I truly believe that Vanessa wanted to finish this experience with Nick and that Dave just wore her down in the same way that he convinced her not to do that bodybuilding competition. I cannot stand Dave, okay? So now Nick and Mariah are all alone in the experience, and production informs the rest of the cast. And now both Caleb and Sandy are upset because now the entire dynamic of the experience has been shifted, and they both feel guilty about enjoying their new trial marriages when their original partners are all alone. They really messed up this whole situation for everyone involved. And although I do not like the idea of people leaving the experience early, production can't hold them against their will. They're allowed to leave. But I just think that the way they went about it was really trash. Child, this is all a mess. But long story short, they're gone, okay? So next we see Nick and Mariah. They meet up to lick each other's wounds, I guess. You can see that they're both genuinely confused and they feel abandoned. And Nick believes that Dave was the reason why she left. And I totally agree. Now, Nick feels rejected twice, right? Once by Sandy and now once by Vanessa, who he says that he was really bonding with. And Nick tells Mariah that by appearances, she doesn't seem to be taking the situation as hard as he is, but Mariah lets him know that this is hard on her as well. And it's not because she was in love with Micah or anything like that, but she has had abandonment issues since she was a child. She hasn't spoken to her mom since she was 8, and those feelings of abandonment have trickled into her relationships. And because of that, she has been very needy in all of her relationships. See, now with that, Caleb did lose a few points with me. Okay, he's gonna lose some more points later, but he lost a few points with me because remember on choice night, you told the whole table, Caleb, that Mariah was codependent. Knowing that that is an issue that stems deep from within her childhood. I don't like that, Caleb. I don't like that, all right? But Mariah, that is definitely something that you are going to have to work on and heal from as well before being able to be in a healthy relationship. Nick and Mariah say that they're still hoping to learn more about themselves by remaining in this experience, and they agree to support each other through the remainder of it. So we see Scotty and Zaina next. They're spending some time together. First of all, I didn't even hear a word that they said because I was so busy wondering, why is she walking on the outside of the street? Why? No, sir. No, ma'am. But they're discussing how comfortable they are with each other. And again, they're talking about her pillow and snoring. And I'm like, are y'all going to have a real conversation? Because we could have skipped this whole scene. All I got from this scene is that Scotty isn't a gentleman, and I like him even less now than I did before, okay? Thank you so much, Scotty. So next we see Arya and Caleb, and I must say it is nice to see them having a conversation without having Arya in tears. And I feel like they can actually get to know each other now, all right? So Arya loves Caleb's calmness, and I'm sure that she welcomes this calmness with an ex like Scotty. Caleb says that Mariah can never really explain why she's with him, and she calls it blind faith. Now, remember my last review, I said that Caleb seems like the type of person who will need constant reassurance because he's wondering, why are you even with him? He doesn't understand it. And a lot of times those people start accusing you of things. But I do 1000% understand wanting that reassurance from your partner. But I also feel that Caleb needs that extra assurance because he isn't sure within himself. And he might be putting too much of that responsibility on Mariah when there's a lot of self-work that needs to be done first. Arya tells Caleb that she learned about her parents' separation while filling out FAFSA forms for college, and her mother just nonchalantly told her like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, we're separated. And she also says that her parents had an open relationship for some time, and I'm like, Arya, why are you out here telling your parents' business like that? Are we supposed to know that? It's giving Clay from Love is Blind when he came on the show and told his daddy's business. Yeah, but she does say that she used to see other women in and out of the home. And I feel like if you want to live that type of lifestyle, your young children should have absolutely no idea about it, all right? Arya says that her parents' relationship is part of the reason why she doesn't trust men. And like I said, her parents' relationship is also why she works so hard to make sure that she never has to depend on a man, because she has had a hard time trusting men. Nonetheless, something is definitely brewing with these two, and I'm here for it, okay? Next, we see Sandy and JR, and they go on a little bowling date. They're flirting, they're touching, and Sandy is telling JR what a good housewife she'll be, and she's trying to get JR to understand that when you're in a relationship, you can't always be so independent, and you have to consider the other person's feelings. Very basic information. And in JR's confessional, he's like, Sandy just challenges me so much. And I'm like, if these basic little concepts challenge you, then I could only imagine the type of partner you were to Zaina. But he says he's deeply motivated by Sandy, and he's really thankful that she didn't leave this experience just because Nick is now alone. And apparently, Nick has still been calling and texting Sandy nonstop. So next we see Zaina and Scotty, and he asks Zaina if she'd ever consider moving back to the East Coast to raise children. And she says no, because she loves the life that she's built here on the West Coast and is home for her. And Scotty says that he wants to make sure that his future kids have a close relationship with his mom, who has been pressuring him not to have kids, but to get married. And he asks Zaina about her timeline for kids, and she says that she wants to freeze her eggs because she wants to make sure that she has kids with the right person. She's not trying to just have any old man's baby because she feels like her time is running out. And Scotty just says that he doesn't want to be the old parent at the parent-teacher conferences. The way that Scotty said this kind of makes me feel like he really wants to be a father, right? And I feel like he might want fatherhood more than he wants marriage, more than he wants to be a husband, but maybe based on his beliefs or pressure from his mom, the marriage has to happen first, and that's why he's pushing for marriage. Scotty says that he feels like Zaina sidesteps her emotion and she masks them with humor, and he thinks that is probably because her ex was slow to open up to her emotionally, right? JR, Mr. Nonchalant. But Zaina does admit that she needs to work on her vulnerability, and Scotty claims that he's the right person to help her do that. And I said, yeah, okay, we'll see, Scotty. So we see Caleb and Arya, and they're getting closer. Ooh, and Arya says that Scotty is the type who always needs to have the last word. Yeah, I can see that, and we're going to see more of that a little bit later. But she says that she's the opposite. In a conflict, she will stay quiet. And Caleb says that he does the same thing. Now, in some situations, you do need to gray rock people and not give them any of your energy. But if these two are actually going to be a couple, they're going to have to learn how to communicate and have healthy conflict, all right? Y'all can't both be walking around in silence. Caleb describes Mariah's love as the purest love that he's ever felt, and he says that it's so deep and it amazes him every day because she didn't experience that much love as a child. And I do wonder how this dynamic would work, especially because Mariah is so clingy, according to Caleb, but Arya is the total opposite of that. So it would definitely be an adjustment for Caleb to go from someone who is always all up under him, all in his face, trying to communicate with him, to someone who is not. But I will say that I'm absolutely loving these conversations that they're having. You can definitely see that they're growing closer and they're both taking a deeper look at themselves, all right? So next we see Mariah. She's by herself, and because she's by herself, herself, it's making her miss Caleb even more. She says that she constantly has to remind herself of why she came here in the first place and of how frustrated she was with Caleb in their relationship. So she's literally getting to sit with herself and reevaluate everything without the distraction of anyone else. And she's hoping that they can both gain some clarity. So next we see JR and Sandy. They're cooking a meal, and JR just loves this because he says that Zaina doesn't really cook with him. And the way I cringed when JR called her babe, y'all are not each other's babe. Stop it, okay? But anyways, we see them pray together before they eat, and I really like that. I feel like when people pray on these shows, it is an automatic sign that you are with the best person ever, the best person possible, and it's going to be the best relationship ever, right? No? No? Oh, okay. My bad. My bad. So they talk about kids, and JR says that he doesn't want them just yet. But when he does, he says that he wants 3 girls and 1 boy. No, 3 boys and 1 girl. And Sandy definitely isn't in a rush either. JR absolutely loves that Sandy isn't in a rush and that she's so chill. But he says that he definitely wants to have his kids by 40, all right? So Sandy feels that she gets to see the softer side of JR that no one else gets to see, and she thinks that is so cute. So child, while they're eating on the balcony, JR looks down and he sees Nick in the courtyard. And he says that he is sure that Nick saw them because he was looking in their direction. And I'm like, Nick, I really hope that you weren't standing out there looking like a creep like Michael Myers. I hope not. So it is week 2 of the trial marriages, and we see the couples getting closer and more settled in with each other. Scotty and Zaina are playing a little game of basketball, and they make a bet that whoever scores first gets to ask a question, all right? So Zaina makes the shot, and she asks Scotty if there's anything that he wishes he could take back. And Scotty tells the story of when he was younger and his dad disciplined him for doing something wrong. And he says that he was so upset that when his dad said, "I love you" that night, he didn't say it back. And unfortunately, the next day, his dad passed away, okay? Scotty says that traumatized him for years, but it taught him how to really appreciate and love his family. I could only imagine the guilt that he carried and probably still carries. I know me, I would be a wreck. I am so close with my mom and my dad. So close. So I can't even imagine something like that happening, especially as a child, right? But Zaina thanks Scotty for being vulnerable with him and sharing that with her. So next we see the cutest scene ever. We got Caleb and Aria, and they're having a little self-care date night. And it made me feel so warm and fuzzy inside. These 2 are so cute. They're so cute. And they tell each other how safe, comfortable, and cared for they feel when they're together. Aria says that she feels that this relationship is moving from platonic to something a bit deeper. And I love that for them. I really do. I really like these 2 together. So next we see Sandy and JR, and they're having a little pool date, and they discuss cheating. Sandy says that she was cheated on by her first love, so she definitely understands how hurt JR was to have his ex-wife cheat on him. And JR says that the pain from that situation still runs very deep, and it definitely messed his head up. And we're going to see more of that a bit later, okay? But that would mess anyone's head up, to be honest. Sandy says that to her, marriage means that you're locked in, so she thinks that married people should work through cheating. And JR was like, nah, that was a deal breaker for him. And he says that he immediately filed for divorce, as he should have, okay? Sandy says in her confessional that she loves JR, and she likes being able to penetrate that hard shell that he's developed from the hurt of his past marriage. Child, next thing you know it, these 2 start making out. They start making out, and JR says that he wants to feel connected to Sandy, and the closest way that he's able to do that without sex is to make out. Didn't I say that in my video, that is JR's way of feeling connected to people? Now, I'm not a prude, okay? Sex is a beautiful thing. So I've heard. I wouldn't know. I just read something about it in the paper like a week ago, but I don't know anything about it, all right? But JR, sleeping with someone and making out with them are not the only 2 forms of intimacy and connecting with people, okay? But we see these 2 head back to the apartment, and they shut the door, okay? They shut the door, but I'm sure that they just went in there to maybe pray again. That's all they went to do. So now we are on to episode 5, and things really popped off in this episode. So make sure that you hit like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. All right, so we are still in week 2 of the trial marriages. We see Scotty and Zaina, and they're eating breakfast. Aria and Caleb, they're creating a little secret handshake, and Nick and Mariah are still alone. So next we see JR and Sandy, and they discuss social media. Sandy thinks that husbands and wives should post each other, and JR says that the female The female can post, but the man isn't obligated to. His reasoning is that he doesn't want people to see his wife, and he found out that his wife was cheating by going through her phones. So that's the reason why he doesn't want to share passwords to the phones. Listen up. Any woman who ends up with JR, any of y'all, do not let JR fool you with the bullshit and make up all of these rules for y'all's relationship based on what he experienced with his ex. We've all been hurt, but you can't take all of that into your next relationship and say, oh, this is what we're going to do in this relationship because this is what my ex did to me. No, sir. But they do say that spending so much time together has gotten them a little bit excited about the idea of marriage and a family. I said, okay, child. So next we see Scotty, and he meets Zaina's sister and friends, and they discuss what drew them to each other and what differences they see between each other and their exes. And Scotty says that Arya hasn't had the best men in her life, so he finds himself constantly trying to prove her wrong and show that he's one of the good guys. Scotty, you are not one of the good. Any guy that has to say he's one of the good guys usually isn't a good guy, okay? He feels like he doesn't have to try so hard to convince Zaina just because she's had different life experiences. Zaina says that she just loves that she's able to be vulnerable with Scotty. And Zaina's sister just comes out and she says it. She's like, look, I love JR. I love JR, so if y'all don't end up together, I'm gonna be a little sad. Zaina says that her expectations for marriage have definitely changed since being with Scotty, and she says that if JR was to come and propose to her today, her answer would be no. So next we see Caleb and Arya, and they're having a little s'mores date. They play a cute game where they stuff their face with marshmallows, and they're just laughing and they're having the best time. And they tell each other that they missed each other during the day. I said, okay, that's cute. So Arya says that she loves that Caleb shows that he's thinking about her even when she's not with him. She says when he's out and about, he'll call her like, oh, hey, do you want something to eat? Do you want something to drink? She loves that. And she also says that she can work on being more affectionate, which is also what Scotty said, right? Scotty said that she doesn't really like physical touch, and that is something that she has always struggled with. So it's really nice to see her try to embrace that with Caleb. And she's able to do that because she trusts Caleb. And you can see that Caleb is trying to get her more comfortable, but in the most gentle and sincere way. Arya says that her physical attraction for Caleb came after. She wasn't really seeing it before, but oh, she definitely sees it now. So in the next scene, we see JR. He meets Sandy's family, and he tells them that when he saw Sandy, it was pretty much love at first sight. They talk about how much they've connected and how much they love doing everything with each other. And baby, Sandy's mother looks like she definitely wanted a piece of JR. She was flirting hard. I was like, damn, mama, chill out. He tells her that he is a PK, and she likes that a lot. And the sentiment among all of Sandy's family and friends seems to be that Nick wasn't really pulling his weight in the relationship and that Sandy did the majority of the giving. And they both say that their connection is so real and they can really see themselves walking away from this experience together. So, child, the next thing we see is Nick absolutely crashing out because he found out that JR met Sandy's mom and family. And he calls her up and he's like, why are you punishing me like this? And I guess speaking to her over the phone wasn't working enough for him. So baby, he pulls up to Sandy and JR's apartment and he's like, let me talk to her. Let me talk to her. And JR is like, no, she don't want to speak to you. And Nick is like, are you serious? Like, this is my girl. Are you serious? And he's like, you don't know me. And JR is like, well, you don't know me. And we can't really see what happened. Okay, we can only hear. But Sandy goes to the door and she breaks it up. And when Nick finally leaves, she's so upset because she feels that Nick isn't allowing her to have the full experience. And she feels like it's unfair. And in JR's confessional, he's like, I take this experience very seriously. And I'm not going to let him come there and talk to my wife like that. And I was like, JR baby, chill out. Please, okay? Child, the next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. We see Nick on the couch. He's crashing out. He's crying. He's screaming, why? And I know the neighbors were listening like, what the is going on over there? Now, look, Nick, like I said, this is what you signed up for, okay? And everyone wants to learn and grow while they're here. But if you go to your partner's room and you say, look, let's just get out of here. I can't do this anymore. I know that I brought you here, but this is really taking a toll on me. I can't do it. And your partner is like, I'm going to stay here. Baby, that relationship was probably over way before y'all got here. So it's week 3 of the trial marriages, and I'm so happy to see that Caleb has made his way off the pull-out bed into the real bed, all right? So they're reiterating how comfortable they feel and how soothing it is when they rub on each other. And Caleb says that he also wants to make sure that no matter what, Arya and Mariah feel comfortable and respected. And in his confessional, he says that he's going to remain loyal to Mariah, but he's feeling very confused because he did not anticipate having such an emotional connection with Arya. So next we see Scotty and Zaina. Child, this scene had me, this scene pissed me off, okay? And we see Scotty's mask cracking. I mean, we saw his mask crack in the very first episode, let's be clear. But Scotty asks Zaina if she wants to go on a date. And because Zaina wasn't gung-ho about his suggestions, he was offended and he's like, okay, I don't want to talk about it anymore. If you don't want me to take you out, that's all you got to say. And Zaina was confused. And I know if I was Zaina, I'd have been like, Scotty, are you good? Is everything okay? And then he tries to get really cute and he was like, oh, what does 32-year-old fun look like? And if I was Zayn, I'd have been like, what does a grown man with no bass in his voice fun look like? What does that look like? Please let me know. Don't play, because if you want to be funny, we can be funny. But of course, Zaina doesn't like this comment, and she says, it's not about age. I just don't like those idea of dates. And why is Scotty acting like those are the only two options that they have? I don't understand. He is such a weirdo to me. But then he brings up his problem with rejection, and he says that that stems from his childhood. Okay, Scotty, you need to see the lady as well, okay? Because if we're going to be arguing over minor things like this, it's not going to work. If you're going to be arguing with everyone you get into a relationship over stuff like this, baby, it's not going to work. Go see the lady. And him tying his rejection to his childhood could definitely be true. I'm sure that there's some truth there, but it's also very manipulative and clearly something that he uses to control people. Then we see Scotty get upset because Zaina ate without him. And she's like, oh, I figured you ate already. And he's like, well, you figured wrong. The way I would have asked Scotty, sir, who the are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Not me. And Zaina, didn't I tell you in episode 1 that you should have ran far, far, far away from Scotty when you saw the way that he yelled at Arya? I told you, girl, Scotty needs to leave here alone. No Zaina, no Arya, no anybody, okay? Next, we see Mariah and Nick. They go on a little boxing gym outing, and Nick tells her about his episode the other night and how upsetting it was for JR to block him from seeing Sandy. But Nick, remember that if Sandy wanted to see you, she would have came out of that room. I don't think that JR was holding her hostage, all right? But there's a men's meeting coming up soon, and he says that he is not looking forward to seeing JR at all. And Mariah says that she's trying to stay positive, but it's been very hard for her because she has seen Caleb and Arya walking around and doing things together. Now, I do like that they were able to share this moment and support each other because clearly this is something that is extremely hard for the both of them. So next we see Arya and Caleb, and they're having a conversation, and apparently Arya wants to tell Mariah about the emotional connection that they have developed. But Caleb keeps calling it a friendship, and Arya feels that he isn't being honest about his feelings for her. He feels that Arya is the very last person who Mariah would want to hear something like this from. Now, I can definitely understand Caleb not wanting Arya to tell Mariah. It makes sense that he preferred to be the one to tell her, but I don't know how honest he's planning to be when he does tell Mariah. If he even tells Mariah, is he going to say that they developed an emotional connection, or is he going to describe it as a friendship? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. So next we see the ladies. They link up and they discuss the events of the past few weeks. Sandy tells them about the Nick situation, and Mariah tries to explain to her how Nick has been trying to deal with this situation by escaping through art. And Sandy is like, what? Art? She says, if he's not even able to deal with this head on and he's just trying to escape, how is he going to take care of me? And Mariah actually says that after getting to know Nick, she doesn't think that he will make a good husband. And I was like, well, damn, Mariah. So next we see Zaina and Sandy, and they have a private chat. And the way Sandy straight up lies in this conversation and says that her and JR haven't been hooking up, as if this show isn't filmed. And then she says what she's actually doing is trying to train JR so that he can show up and be a better man for Zaina. Girl, bye. Bye. One thing that they both noticed, and I said this earlier, is that JR still harbors a lot of trauma from his past marriage, and he's currently making Zaina pay for it, okay? Next, we see Mariah and Arya. They have a conversation about Caleb, and Arya is just gushing about her connection with Caleb and about how great he is and how beautiful everything has been. And she also tells Mariah some of the complaints that Caleb has made about her. She tells Mariah that Caleb doesn't feel trusted because of the way that she over communicates and how clingy she is. And she low-key, high-key calls Mariah the toxic one in the relationship. Now, Arya, I do not think that this was necessary. I don't like it. Mariah is trying to keep it cute. She's trying to be polite. And girl, the way that you're going so hard for Caleb when we're about to see that he is not going to keep that same energy for you, I hate that for you. But you honestly did way too much in this scene, in my opinion. So, child, next we see the men. They link up. And as soon as Nick walks in the door, he immediately apologizes to JR before he even says hi. Okay. He's like, look, I'm so sorry. I don't want any problems. I'm like, okay, Nick. And he says that he's never cried this much in his life and he's never seen this version of himself. JR tells him that he lost all respect for him the moment that he showed up to the apartment. And Nick says that it really broke his heart to see Sandy look at JR the way that she used to look at him. And JR is kind of rubbing it in his face by saying how much Sandy challenges him and cares about him. And he says that he can totally see why Nick wants to marry her. Child, the way that Nick is throwing this liquor back because he is so stressed, I was like, damn, JR, you don't got to do that either. And Caleb is just sitting there like, So, child, next we see Scotty come through. And JR asks Caleb about his connection with Aria. JR, why you being messy? You messy. Caleb is so shook that he describes the relationship as nothing more than a friendship. Now, Caleb, you know you lying. You know you lying. You be rubbing all your friends down like that? Is that what you be doing? But then I said, okay, maybe Caleb wants Aria to be the one to have that conversation with Scotty, the same way that he wants to be the one to have that conversation with Mariah, okay? But Caleb tells Scotty not to worry about him pursuing any type of romantic relationship with Aria. And let me say this, Scotty knows who to play with. Scotty knows who to talk to crazy because his tone in this scene, all the way off, very combative when no one, literally no one was giving him that energy. He's lucky he's with this group of men because, baby, the group of men I know, they would have told him to change his tone and start his sentence over. Straight like that. And he's going on and on saying someone will see the value in me and he will leave here engaged. And look at poor Caleb. He's not even giving you that energy. Caleb tells Scotty that he really doesn't think that this is a conversation that they need to be having. He feels that this is a conversation that he needs to have with Aria. And in his confessional, he says that he doesn't know any hetero man who would only want to be friends with Aria. So he doesn't believe anything that Caleb is saying. Ciao. Next, we see Scotty telling JR what Zaina needs in a man. And he says that it has nothing to do with how he feels about JR personally. And JR says, are you sure? Because he says that he heard some rumors going around that he's only here for a hall pass. And I'm like, are you not? Are you not? Didn't you tell Micah that this is your opportunity to be with a white girl with no strings attached? You said that, JR. Anyways, he says that he's not going to say who told him, but the person did say that Scotty is the one that started the rumor, and Scotty denies it. But JR says that maybe Scotty started this rumor to put doubt in Zaina's head. JR, if we're being honest, you started the rumor. You started the rumor by what you said. Scotty asked JR why he's mad, and JR says, I'm not mad. I'm just annoyed because me and Sandy, we have a real connection. And Nick is like, does that mean that y'all are sleeping together? And JR is like, well, in the same bed. Yeah, ain't everybody sleeping in the same bed? And baby, even Caleb had to jump in and be like, nah, you know that's not what he's asking. You know that is not what he's asking. But we don't see JR answer the question. And baby, that is where episode 5 ends. And I said, ooh-wee. These were some juicy episodes, child. Get in the comments and let's talk about it. I cannot wait for the drop tomorrow. Before you leave, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell. And I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Bye!
Goodbye, Roxiie says